Hello and welcome to another edition of Convict Inc. I'm your host, Robert Rosso. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. If you like the video, please like and share these videos. It is Wednesday. This should be posted on Thursday, and I think I'm going to try to do Friday night live. I think. Depends on what's going on. I need to do a live a week. I know that. Okay, Abduwali, Abdukhadir, Muse. It's not really how you say his name. Abduwali for sure. It's not Muse. It's actually Musa. Well, that's what he was called. Anyway, has anybody seen the movie Captain Phillips? If you have, it's about Somali pirates who capture a ship off the Horn of Somalia. In a nutshell, because most people have seen it, but I'll just say it. In a nutshell, there was 4 pirates involved off one boat. 3 ended up getting killed. 1 ends up getting captured. This was during the Obama administration, by the way. The one that was captured was Musa. That's what he went by in prison, so that's what I'll call him, Musa, okay? Musa was originally taken from Somalia. I forgot what other countries he went to now, but he ended up in New York. There he was held in solitary confinement under crazy conditions, according to him. I believe he was one of those that had the light on all the time, couldn't have any communication with anybody other than his lawyer. One of the reasons, says prosecutors I just read, I guess when he was able to use the phone, he tried to contact somebody in Somalia that they deemed was a pirate. Don't know how true that is. I know that he disputed that, but I'll get into that in a minute. After he was convicted of piracy, what was all the crimes? I'm sorry, I just read it. Piracy, let's just call it. He was convicted and given 33 years, I believe. He was sent to the Control Management Unit in FCI Terre Haute. The Control Management Unit is like a black ops unit. Inmates in general population and CMU do not have any contact with one another. We can see them when we're going out on trips to medical and stuff, if they're in the rec cages. John Walker Lynn was in there. Stu Nazette was in there. A bunch of sovereign citizens, 25 alleged Muslim terrorists are in there. I think there's like 50-something, 60-something people altogether. They all live in single cells. They have a day room, a common area. There's a hole or a shoe in there if they mess up. And this is where, after being sentenced for piracy, Musa was sent. Now, I know from other people who were in there that shortly after Captain Phillips was filmed, he was getting hundreds of dollars that ended up being thousands of dollars on his commissary account. Had a lot of fans. A lot of people saw the movie, had some sympathy for him. Got a lot of letters from women. That's typical in prison. Guys that are on TV or in the public eye. Eventually, the Bureau of Prisons confiscated that money to where he was broke. He was making like $19, $20 a month as an orderly inside the CMU, which an orderly inside the CMU, there's really not, it's one unit. You're confined to a unit all day. So I guess they can, so the guys can have a little bit of something, buy a little commissary. They figure out little odd jobs for him to do. I do know that while he was in the CMU, Musa got his GED. He learned how to speak English really, really well. From a Muslim terrorist, a guy, I forgot the guy's name, but he was convicted of terrorism. And he liked to read. This is not a stupid kid now. Very sharp, very observant, manipulative as all heck, and likes to tell good tales. Now, if the Bureau decides to an inmate in the CMU no longer needs to be confined in that unit. Their correspondence no longer, needs to be read. They no longer need all their phone calls monitored. They'll send them into general population inside of FCI Terre Haute first. It's like a trial run. It's a 6-month trial run. At the end of the 6-month trial run, they'll then send them to another prison. I met Musa, I think it was in 2018, I want to say. He was assigned to F block. I want to say I was in C block at the time, but I could have been sent to M block. They closed C and then they moved everybody down to M. He actually came and found me. There was guys in the prison that knew I was writing for Vice or had written for Vice or was a journalist, whatever, and he wanted his story out. The first thing he wanted me to tell and talk about was his teeth. They called him the Smiling Pirate. If you go Google him, you can see his photos. He had some kind of, he was all teeth. He went to the dentist because he had a bunch of problems with his teeth. And the dentist that he saw was named Dr. Shepard. Now, I'm going to say this real quick. I got along great with Dr. Shepard. I like Dr. Shepard. He did fantastic work on my mouth, treated me with nothing but respect, was never rude to me once. However, he's now retired, and I've seen Dr. Shepard do some really, really bad stuff. I've seen him assault inmates. I've seen him cuss inmates out just for coming to try to get their mouth fixed. I saw a guy whose mouth was swollen, and he needed his tooth pulled, and he was in pain and crying, and he kept trying to go see the dentist, and Dr. Shepard slammed him up against the wall. He assaulted the guy. Now, I saw that with my own eyes. Anyway, I say that because of this. Musa said that when he went to get his teeth fixed, Dr. Shepard said, "I don't fix terrorist teeth. I will not work on your mouth. You're a terrorist." And I do believe that. I don't have any proof of that, but I do believe that happened. Now, when a guy's in prison, I don't care what the crime's for. And I know this is a touchy subject. I know people, if you have a terrorist or a pirate or somebody that does something to children or whatever, you kind of have this natural urge not to want them to have any kind of good treatment. You want them to just live in pure hell. The truth is you can't do that. You just can't. I know as much as people want to, at times, as much as somebody hurt one of my family members, I would want them to get the death penalty unless I can get my hands on them in prison, if I was, still in prison doing life. So I get it, but you can't do that. And I know that he was unable to see the dentist because of his case. And I do believe that was wrong. Now, when he sought me out, he wanted me, of course, to write about him. He wanted me to help him with a book that he's writing about his life. He also wanted me to get in touch with some of my journalist friends from New York Magazine, from the Daily Beast, from Vice, author Elizabeth Greenwood. He wanted me to get in touch with all my contacts because he was trying to pitch a story. I do believe he had restrictions from the court, and I do know that he gave me the number of a lady, I believe she was a Canadian, that was doing a documentary about him. She had gone and visited his family in Somalia, and he lost contact with her because he was in the control management unit. Like I said, he did come out. They were letting him in general population. They were trying to transition him out into general pop, see how he was doing. When I got on the phone and talked about him, it wasn't a couple days later that SIS, that's the institutional Gestapo, or the email police, came and pulled me up and said, "Hey, watch what you're doing here. This guy's not supposed to be talking about anything, about his crimes." I guess, I'm not sure. I've never read his court files. I know like John Walker Lynn can't talk to the press ever, I believe. There's other people that have been ordered as part of their sentence not to talk to the press or speak about their crime. I'm not sure if that was with Musa, but I know that SIS did not like me even talking to other journalists or my media contacts about this guy. And I did. I talked to a guy named Steve Fishman at a New York magazine. I think I talked to Elizabeth Greenwood. She's an author. Simon & Schuster also works at Columbia as a writing professor at Columbia, I think, or I forgot. I'm sorry, Columbia University. She worked there. Taught creative writing. I'm sorry. Now, I did back up off of Musa, and this is because I have had problems with CTU. That is the counterterrorism unit. Everybody who's in CMU, their correspondence goes through the prison officials at Terre Haute and also CTU. I'm not sure I said everybody. I don't have proof of that, but I believe that's true. And my name has already come up with Matt Hale. Matt Hale was not in CMU, but it's an algorithm. You know, so if I'm writing, hey, I just talked to Matt Hale to my wife and I sent an email, that email is going to CTU. You know, I should have maybe put Matt M.A.T, you know, kind of trick the algorithm, but I didn't. I never was trying to. So I didn't want to have any problems with CTU, because when CTU is on you, I was already monitored through SIS and through Washington and through Region. You know, I was trying to get more restrictions off my correspondence, not more put on. But nevertheless, I did talk to Musa, I can't say his name, over, you know, 6 months, the 6 months that he was in general population. Also during that time. So let me tell you what some of the things he said. He talked about his home in Somalia. He told me that he was out on his own when he was 6 years old. That's a fact. That's what he said. I'm reading that his mother and father said it was 12. Talked about Somalia, was knowledgeable about Somalian history. Talked about how the Europeans and the Americans have destroyed Somalia, and now the Chinese are in there. Talked about Somalia being fished out. Gave all the reasons for piracy. Talked about Somalia being a lawless place where, you know, life is cheap. Talked about seeing dead bodies in the street. Talked about killing. Specifically what? Just killing in general. He also did hijack other ships. I don't believe other people were hurt, but I'm not sure. And that's the thing about him. I started catching him kind of saying things that I wanted to hear sometimes. Very, very smart guy. Also, he would really like to live in the United States when he's done with this sentence. That's what he would love to do. He's hoping that like Somalia won't take him back, like Cuba won't take somebody back or whatever. Now, you know, he'll be in his 50s. His age was also up for question. He has told me, and I've read newspaper accounts of this, sometimes he says he was 16 when he got 17 when he got caught. Other times he'll say he was 18, 19. And he did the same thing with me. So, you know, I had that BS detector, but that's okay. This guy, you know, as long as I know that you're tricking me at times. So if it's when I don't know, that sucks. If I know, I'm like, okay, I know how to deal with you. I was still going to try to put a story out about him on Vice. And then I started seeing him kind of take a turn. And what I mean was, so he said he was a devout Islamist or a Muslim. I don't necessarily agree. Excuse me. I don't necessarily agree. I know he went to services sometimes and sometimes he did not. I know that the more he got around African Americans, black gang members, that he started to change some. Walk started to change. He got that hip hop about him. You know, he went from studious wanting to learn how to speak different languages when he first got out to, you know, maybe wanting to start rapping or something. I'm just making a joke. Started gambling a lot. Spent lots and lots and lots of hours on the gambling table. And you can just see the difference in his demeanor. He became more thuggish, I guess you can say. Again, he was younger. And I will say this is one of the things I remember about him. People's eyes. I've mentioned Joey Testa's eyes. I've mentioned other people. You ever see a dead fish? Excuse me. Ooh. When their eyes start glazing over after a fish, after you catch it. He had that glaze in his eyes, like those dead eyes. He really did. I've seen photos of him where he looks joyous and smiling. He's always smiling. But when you look at him close, he had those eyes that kind of look like that. He had that dead glaze in him, you know, almost like he's been through enough or had enough, you know, like he's ready to check out. Not saying that's true. I'm just saying that there was that look about him. He also has a lot of energy in him. So very different kind of person to talk to because of the African history. Again, life is cheap over there. That's what he would say. They've been through a lot. They do blame Americans. They do blame Europeans. They do blame white people. And he was very aware that China is now embedding themselves in Africa. Instead of going in with strength, they're doing it with money. You know, the Chinese will set up railroads. They're doing what the Europeans did. They just don't go in with force. And they're having African countries, they're getting them in debt to where they're not going to be able to pay off their debts. And then China will get some kind of foothold. They're also putting a military presence on the African continent. And, you know, China, whenever they go in any country, they develop a pretty large, they send a lot of Chinese and set up big Chinatowns. So they're getting ready to run Africa if they're not already. And he was very much aware of that and talked about that. Smart kid, just sharp. Now, I do know, it says he was in the hole in the CMU for disruptive behavior. I'm not sure what that was about, but I do know that he was extorting for a period of time Stuart Nazette. You know, I'm not saying, you know, give me the money kind of thing, but I need $25 off commissary. I need, you know, every week. Sue's a soft guy, big-hearted guy. Probably wanted no problems. Didn't care about spending money. He needed very little. And I know that from other people that were in the CMU and from Stu, that Musa was one of the guys that just was relentless on Stu. He was transferred, I think, to Edgeville, South Carolina, I want to say, for a period of time. And then before I left, I heard he was sent back and put in the CMU in Terre Haute, where he's now at today. Loves fan mail, loves hearing from people on the outside. Had said he'd never seen Captain Phillips when I met him, but then he did afterwards. Laughed about it, said it was good. It was a good movie. It was a good recreation or something like that. Again, then he told somebody else that was not even close to the truth. So he had a bunch of different stories. You know, maybe growing up in that kind of environment, like a drug addict, makes you manipulative. You got to lie about your disease. Maybe something, you know, Americans or the whole piracy thing, you know, that's why he changed up. I think he also really enjoyed playing like I'm 18, I'm 16, I'm 15. Like to keep people guessing on their toes. I do know that he was really, really interested in talking to the media. I know that there was somebody at a New York magazine, and I've never seen the story, I don't believe, that he was corresponding with. I got to look that up. This guy was out of the Daily Beast. He was one of the first to correspond with them. Really good story. Smiling Somali pirate says jailers have ruined his grin. His teeth were going bad. He had loose teeth when I saw him. This says he's lost most of them. I didn't see that. Again, Dr. Shepard retired, I want to say in 19 or 20. The person that took his place, I cannot see her not taking care of his teeth. I know he filed a lawsuit about that. Shepard was just one of those people that didn't care. Again, he was great with me. I know other guys he was real great with too, but I know some guys he was horrible with. But for sure, he told him if he came in and he found out that he was a pirate from Captain, there's no way Shepard was going to treat that. Just no way. Right, wrong, or whatever. So that's my story about Musa. And I say Musa because I was, the way the reporter was saying Muse, everybody called him Musa. I think some people called him Mustafa. I don't know why, but it was Musa. Never heard anybody call him Abduwali. But again, very respectful towards me and my age, respectful towards just talking to me. But towards the end of those 6 months, he was ready to get a Glock and go shoot up something. He's ready to go gangbang, I think. And yeah, I'm, kind of joking, but he started getting that thuggish type of behavior. Young black African Americans, actually 20-year-olds in prison, in a prison that the elders aren't really on them anymore like they used to be. And the younger kids, that's white, black, everything, don't respect elders like they used to in prison. He was falling into that. It was appealing to him. The gambling, the loud, just having a great time. That's what he started doing. That's when I kind of lost interest in him. And we both realized that I was going to not write about him because it was going to be too much of a problem for me. And, so he kind of soured on me, I'm sure, as well. But that's it. The Captain's Phillip Pirate. I would encourage anybody to ride the Smiling Somali Pirate. Says jailer have ruined his teeth. Jailers have ruined his teeth. It's late. I'm up late doing this one, so I just had to get it done because I got a lot going on. Take care.